Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be reviewing The Only One Left by Riley Sager while trying to build the Hope House on The Sims 4. So, let's get started. I did build this once before at a lot in the cottage living pack world, but all of the lots were way too small, so I had to make the house a lot smaller than what it was. The book says that there's 36 rooms, and all of the lots are super small there. I tried to find one that was kind of near a cliff, so I built the one up at the top. But I kept being like slid up the hill every time I kept trying to build it, so I eventually abandoned that, and the record file didn't work, so I got the opportunity to build all of this again. So I'm much happier with how this turned out, definitely compared to that first shot that I gave it. So now on to a little bit of the book review. Overall, if you haven't heard of it before, The Only One Left by Riley Sager is Riley Sager's newest addition to his thriller, psychological thriller lineup. So a quick summary. Now reduced to a schoolyard chant, the Hope family murder shocked the Maine coast one bloody night in 1929. While most people assume 17-year-old Lenora was responsible, the police were never able to prove it. Other than her denial after the killing, she has never spoken publicly about that night, nor has she set foot outside Hope's End, the cliffside mansion where the massacre occurred. It's now 1983, and home health aide Kit McDeer lives at a decaying Hope's End to care for Lenora after a previous nurse fled in the middle of the night. In her 70s and confined to a wheelchair, Lenora was rendered mute by a series of strokes and can only communicate with Kit by tapping out sentences on an old typewriter. One night, Lenora uses it to make a tantalizing offer. I want to tell you everything. Overall, I really enjoyed this. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 on Goodreads. If Goodreads would have let me, I probably would have given a 4.5 out of 5, but it is what it is. My main complaint with it isn't that big of a deal, which probably is what kept it from being a 5 out of 5 for me. But we'll get into that later, kind of during the spoiler section. Overall, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 on Goodreads. I probably would have given it a 4.5 out of 5 if Goodreads would have allowed me to, but it is what it is. The reason it didn't get a 5 out of 5 for me is I had one complaint about it that, in retrospect, probably isn't that big of a deal, but really kind of bugged me while I was reading it, especially towards the end. If you know, you know, but we'll get into that later. So I had two main pros. First, I really liked the premise. I kind of thought originally after reading the book cover that this would be more just Lenora and just Kit living on Hope's End, kind of learning about each other, and spooky things are happening around them. Kind of like the movie The Boy, where that is kind of the case, where it's really just her, the doll, and a couple servants, or Saint Maud, where it's her and the person she's caring for. I liked that that's not what I got. I thought the addition of the other characters made this a lot spookier and really put it more into the thriller category instead of the horror category. For me, I loved that the extra characters really played up to the whodunit. Like, is Homegirl really going crazy? Are there ghosts? Is someone here messing with her? Is Lenora lying and she's the one getting up and moving and doing all this? Who really knows? But I really liked what all the other characters added to it. I thought they were all interesting. They were all different enough. They had very clear characteristics, all of that. Kind of leads me into my second pro of the book, is that I thought all of the characters were really well written. My only issue was with the main character, Kit, but I think that's me just being picky. I do wish the author would have held off on revealing the truth about Kit's involvement with her mother's death. I felt that because we got the truth, or at least as far as what Kit knew was the truth, kind of early in the story, and that made it there wasn't a lot less left to wonder about her. She's not a murderer. She told us pretty much what happened within the first quarter of the book. I think holding off on really confirming her involvement until later would have added a lot more suspense to it, and really would have played up some of this paranoid suspense with it that we get with the other characters, right? Like, if we didn't learn the truth about her until later, we also would have been like, okay, maybe she's an unreliable narrator and she's also lying to me. She's also a suspect in my eyes now. But we got the reveal early on, and she ended up being a very reliable narrator. So I just think that one little tweak would have made her a better character. After learning the truth about her, that she's not some psychopath who killed her mother on purpose or on accident, I found her kind of annoying. I feel like if we would have pushed it off, it would have been not annoying and more like, what is she hiding here? Like, why is she having the reactions to what she's having here? I think the author was going for that. He wanted us to think that she was an unreliable narrator. But at times, I was just like, girl, you're in your 30s and you're acting like you're a teenager. Like, the paranoia, the like, I don't know, she felt very annoying, like very overreacting to things. And I get that's the point, right? She's on this remote-esque location. She's only with the people around her. Like, wouldn't anyone be paranoid? But I just felt that she became too paranoid too quickly. There wasn't enough build up for like me to support or to believe that she had reason to be this paranoid. I don't know. Again, like I said, that's being picky. A lot of my complaints with this book are super picky. Overall, though, again, 2 major pros. Love the premise. Characters are super well written. Now to get to the cons, I kind of already mentioned this a bit, but some of the character interactions were super weird. Overall, I loved them, but there's this one scene where her, like, 19-year-old fling shows up at Hope's End and is trying to break in, and he, like, says something along the lines of, like, be careful, she's hiding something. And it's kind of like, how do you know that? Like, you're 19. You're just some random who showed up on the property. And spoiler alert, he ended up being right. But, like, it was just a throwaway line to him. Like, he doesn't have any secret knowledge about what was actually going on at Hope's End for him to actually be hinting that there's something else going on here, right? Like, if another character, like, if one of the 2 servants would have been like, you better, like, just be careful. Like, oh, okay, that's really menacing. But, like, you're just some kid. Okay? So again, minor complaint. Getting to now my biggest complaint with the book was probably within the last 50 pages or so. I felt that there were just way too many plot twists. At the end, in the last 25 pages, every single page, there was some type of plot twist. Normally, this is a pretty good thing, but I just felt that so many of them seemed random. Like, you know when you're watching a movie and when you first watch it and there's a plot twist at the end, you're like, whoa, had no idea this was coming, I'm truly shocked. But then when you rewatch it, you're like, oh, I definitely see how the director is dropping hints at this plot twist, that you can pick up on the clues as you rewatch. I don't feel like that was the case for this book. I really didn't feel like there was any way for someone to guess these things and, like, have evidence, right? I know that is, again, a super weird complaint, right? Like, who really wants to be able to predict the ending? But I do appreciate it when authors have set their story up to where someone could, in theory, be picking up on all these clues, or during a reread, they can pick up on these things and piece it together. But there were so many that it is impossible. Absolutely impossible. And some of them are about things that, like, just, like, don't, like, they matter, but, like, have so little impact on the book. Spoiler alert again. Skip ahead a little if you're trying to avoid spoilers. The plot reveal that her dad is the one, like, with Lenora, young Lenora, he's barely in the book. And it comes out that he's this murderer that everyone's been looking for. Like, he wasn't in it at all. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's lazy writing because I don't think that Riley Sager is a lazy author. But it was kind of like, where's the fun in that? How am I supposed to guess that actually this serial killer that they were looking for is her dad, who, before the very end, is in it for legitimately 2 pages. He's referenced throughout, but he only makes a very little appearance at the beginning, and he's sitting in a couch, and I don't even think he says anything. It's more just like, meh, as she leaves to go to the house. So, again, most of them made sense. Like, it wasn't like, okay, like, you're just, no, that contradicts something you say earlier. Like, again, they all kind of fit, but they were just like, there's so many of them that, like, tone it back a little bit. And then when you finally think at the very end, there's kind of like an epilogue-y chapter in this, the very last chapter, when you're finally like, all right, it's done. No, flip another page, and there's one more. Like, I wish that I could go back and count how many plot twists there are in the very end of the book, because it has to be some outrageous number. I've talked to some other people who have read this book, and they kind of have similar feelings to me, where it's just like, oh my God, every single page. I don't know. For some people that I've talked to, it's their cup of tea, all these plot twists, because it makes it so unpredictable. But for me, I really like those hints along the way, like seeing how an author can really craft a story and get me somewhere that at first glance, I have no idea we were going to get there. But again, on the rewatch, the reread, oh, okay, like you were very deliberate about this. And I really don't think that was there for this book. Major caveat there, I haven't reread it. Maybe on a reread I would feel that, but I don't know. There were just so many that like how could one person reasonably get there on their own? And I don't even think there was the evidence in the book. I'm an English teacher. If you're going to make an argument, right, which this narrative kind of is, it's building up to something, have the evidence along the way, I guess. But again, as I said, I did end up giving a 4, really like a 4.5 out of 5 on Goodreads. So I did really like it. And I feel a little bad with my ranking, only a 4, because it probably could have been a 5. But what I try to do when I rank on Goodreads, 1 is a DNF, a 2 is a I finished it, but it was awful. A 3 is I did finish this book and I kind of liked it, but eventually it started to drag. A 4 is those books who are not quite 5 stars that you liked, you enjoyed. And then a 5 out of 5, loved this book, would reread, would recommend it to a friend. So that's kind of how I rank them. And again, this one, I don't think I would recommend it to my friend. I think I would have a lot of other books that I would recommend before this, and even books that I would recommend by Riley Sager before I would recommend this one. Loved The House Across the Lake. I think I would highly recommend that one. It was a 5 out of 5 for me on Goodreads, so again, probably not one that I'd recommend. However, I think I finished this in like 2 days. Like, I read this one quick, which does speak to its ability to capture a reader's attention, to hold it there, and to kind of build towards that climax. So definitely recommend if you're interested in the suspense and thriller genre. Again, I would probably check out some others first if you're new to the genre. But yeah, overall, pretty happy with the book. Glad I read it. Kind of turning my attention back to the Sims builds. As you can kind of see here, I tried to go for more of that brick mansion. I had a couple Pinterest pics that I was looking for. What I tried to do is, I'm pretty sure on the cover that house is the back of the house. So I tried to build it like that. You can kind of see that L shape here. The one thing that is missing from this build that is referenced pretty frequently in the books, it's actually a pretty big part of the plot, is the terrace outside of Kit and Lenora's room. I am not a great Sims builder. I have never built a terrace like I imagine this one has, like a roofed terrace on a second or a third floor. And I don't know, I'm not a great builder, never built one before, didn't know if I wanted the first attempt to be on a YouTube video for the world to see. So it's not exactly accurate, but this is generally kind of the vibe I pictured when I was reading the book. As you can see, I built the main house. I didn't actually put any of the walls in this, so if you were going to play in here, you do have a lot of interior work to do. But I did build the like caretaker's house, carriage, garage type thing that Carter lives in throughout. There's also, that I left out, a giant garage, I think a 6-car garage. I just didn't have enough room on this land with how big that I made the house. The house would have had to come way forward, and I don't think that it would have made sense. There are just certain things in real life that are just hard to translate over to The Sims. So, as you can see though, I spent a lot more time than I probably should have on windows and landscaping. Building the actual house was pretty easy. I pretty much just merged two like conceptual pictures together. But the windows, I just couldn't get right. Like, on the book cover, they look pretty modern, but in The Sims, like, it just has it's so modern that I was like, this just doesn't fit with what we know about the house, right? It's at least the 1920s, at least, right? If it was new when the murder occurred. So there's just really nothing that quite fit with the style I was kind of going for in my head. So eventually I settled on the windows that it had now, but even then, like, I'm not sure if they're the exact fit for this type of architecture. And then same thing with the landscaping. I'm not a great landscaper. It's probably one thing that I could improve on in my builds, but I'm not a huge builder in general. Honestly, I love to play on the pre-built lots. I hate furnishing because I get so particular that I can't match everything. I hate building because they just don't feel like they belong in the world. So I really try to avoid it at all costs, but I thought this would be kind of a cool video to combine a book review and a Sims build in it. I feel like if you like books, you like The Sims, and if you like The Sims, you probably like books. Maybe this is too niche of an audience, but maybe not. So, again, the book says that there's 36 rooms in here. I did not have the time or the patience to, let alone find a way to fit 36 rooms in a Sims build, nor to furnish this. So this is just a shell of a house. So I can't upload it to the gallery if anyone's interested. But yeah, bare bones, outside, landscaping, caretaker's house, doors. Pretty much all I was able to do here. So much better than my other build. I built one and got really, really frustrated with it, and then my recording didn't even work. So negatives all around. But I really liked the angle, the direction that I took with this one. Brick house, super old. I didn't end up trying to make it as decrepit as it is in the book. I thought it was a little too hard. We have a couple walls and stuff that's, I don't know, run down, but just not enough to where I could really feel like I could capture what was happening here. So thank you so much for watching. I'm so glad you joined me. Let me know if you want to see more book reviews and sim builds in the future. I really liked making this. It took me a little longer than I thought it would, but I thought it was a super fun way to communicate with books while also engaging with something that I also really enjoy doing. So let me know in the comments what you think below, and I hope to see you on my next video.